Okay, so we're going to take a look at Fall of Rome, not the SPI one. This is a Minden Games. It's a Zip Edition game, and this is all there is. A deck of cards that's not provided, and a few counters and a little abstract set of charts, or tracks. In a lot of ways, this kind of reminds me of a stripped down sort of States of Siege game. Now, I don't know how stripped down, because like the only one I played was one of their, was kind of a flagship game, Cruel Necessity, which had a lot of stuff and kind of quality components and everything that I think it was a higher quality than most of them in terms of the components, at least. Possibly in terms of the amount of stuff going on in the game, it was a little more complicated. But maybe I'm wrong. But this one's kind of like take away the map and just play the tracks. And it's kind of a cute idea. It's a solo game. It's about Hitler wanting Hitler's replacement of Hindenburg, essentially, and the machinations that had to be taking place in order for that, and the fact that Rome kind of had to go. It also takes into account the idea that Rome was essentially plotting a coup, which is maybe the case, maybe not. It's one of those iffy situations. There's not a lot for rules here. The object of the game is to gather victory points in order to represent that, hey, you're able to match sort of a historical type transition of power. Do you want to win? I don't know. The game has a number of end game conditions that can take place. When Hindenburg dies, the game ends. You have to score and find that the Nazis are in a position to transfer without causing too much disruption. If the economy goes down to zero, you've collapsed the economy, and that's horrible. If the army index goes down to zero, you've lost any support from the army, and there's probably going to be a military coup. If you do an unsuccessful purge, I don't remember if that ends the game. That ends the game. I don't know if that's an auto loss. The others so far that I've listed are auto losses. The deck of cards runs out. I think that's just sort of a minimal, like a very unlikely maximal number of turns to the game. And when Hindenburg dies, and I think those last two that I listed, you score the game and you have to meet certain victory conditions. What I'm not sure about is if you score the game on an unsuccessful purge. That, we'll see. For the setup of the game, all these indices are in their start position, Hindenburg's health, and where Rome is. Okay, on each turn, you're going to make a decision whether or not you want to purge. If you purge, you follow a different set of instructions. If you don't purge, you turn over the top card of the deck, and that will impact all your random events for the game, for the turn. First thing it does is it determines where Rome's going to show up, which is by the number on the card. And what are the values there? Yeah, those are the type of cards. The value is, I believe, how easy it is to purge him. So if he's at Munich, where he was historically when he was captured and arrested, it's particularly easy. In Berlin, it's particularly hard. So that kind of impacts you. Rome goes there. Then you follow the Hindenburg health table, where on an even card, you drop his health by 1. On an odd card, it drops him by 2, unless it's the ace of spades, which automatically kills him. Game over, man. If I draw the ace of spades on the first couple turns, we may play twice, because we won't get to see much of the game. If it's a red court card, it actually makes him healthier, unless he's down to space 1, in which case he stays where he is. And if it's a black court card, he stays where he is. So in general, he's going to get sicker, but it's possible he could end up getting healthier. On the first turn of the game, you don't worry about the Hindenburg health. So actually, if you draw the Ace of Spades on the very first turn of the game, you don't kill him, and he's available. He won't die by random chance, which kind of sucks. It takes something away from the game, but it's unlikely to happen, right? You can't enter the 0 space unless you have a black card. So in particular, let's say you got a red or black odd card, you would only be able to do so, well, you would only be able to enter on an odd or even black card. Now, let me see. I seem to remember. Yeah, okay. But you do go as far as you can without killing him. Okay. The next thing is you determine the issue for the turn. If it's spades, it's political, hearts, it's economic, clubs, it's the army, diamonds, it's intrigue. After you see what the issue in play for the turn is, you pick an action for that turn, which is either the SA action, the army action, the SS action, or an economy action, which fits the 4 charts. Depending on the issue in play and the action that you choose, it's going to impact these markers. And I think it always impacts more than one. They say it'll impact just one. Okay. And then the turn's over, and you go to the next turn. Now, if you're going to do a purge, you run the purge, and, well, they say when the purge sequence is over, go to the next turn. That's if it succeeds. If the purge fails, it ends the game. So what do the issue effects do to you? All right. So you look at the particular action that you're taking. You compare it to each of the indices that's listed. Let's see. Yeah, you compare it to each of the indices that's listed there. So if you do an SA action, depending on the card listed, that'll affect the SA index. Okay. If you didn't choose an SA action on the SA when the SA index was active, you increase the SA index, and that's a bad thing. That's Rome getting closer to a coup. With the SS action, if you don't choose that, there's no harm, but if you do, you get to improve your SS. And your SS is basically there to be a counter-coup force. They're a powerful means of taking Rome out and kind of replacing him. If an army action comes up, if you don't choose the army, and same thing with the economic, you get a penalty of 1 for that track. If you do choose the army, it depends on what the card is as to what will happen. So in general, you're going to want to choose what's happening. However, you might want to improve one of these other tracks that's of real importance to you, and choose a different action from what the index is. That will generally penalize you on that on that index. But okay. And the final aspect of the game, and there are some options, so we'll get to those too, is if you purge the SA, you can do this any turn except the first turn of the game. You have to announce it before you draw the card for the turn. When the purge is called, you skip. You don't draw a card. Okay. And you try to arrest Rome. Okay. However, it does count as a turn. I don't know what that means. We'll see. After announcing a purge, you total up your purge factors, and the more you have, the better you are. You double the SS index. You add half the army index. The better the army is behind you, the easier this is going to be. You add or subtract the Rohm location modifier, which is this -1, +2, +1. Based on the box that he's in. And if the current SA index is at its top at 12, you lose 4. If it's at 11, you lose 1. You total all those points, and then you draw a card. You add the card's value to the number of PF you have. Aces are 1, court cards count as 5 in the basic rules. This will be your final purge number. If the final purge number is greater than 13, you succeed in the purge. If it's less than 13, you lose the game. Rohm is pissed and probably takes you out. Okay, if the purge is successful, two things happen. Rohm is removed from the game, and the SA index may be affected. Your final purge number, -14, is the number of spaces the SA index marker lowers. This is going to help you to a large extent because, especially if it's kind of low, you could just wipe the SA out completely. And then you keep going until the game ends and you get a victory. You check your victory. For determining the victory, okay, any case other than an unsuccessful purge, you count victory points. You add the army index, half the SS index, twice the economy index. You subtract the SA index. You subtract 5 if Rohm is still around, and then you draw a card. You add 1 if it's spades, 2 if it's hearts. You subtract 1 if it's clubs, and 2 if it's diamonds. This is your total victory points for the game. Once again, you have to get 14 or more points for Hitler to succeed Hindenburg. If you have 13 or less, Hitler will not succeed Hindenburg as president, or Hitler may or may not succeed him. But whatever happens, you lost. You've caused too much trouble, and there's rules for how bad that is. If an unsuccessful purge occurs, the game ends immediately and you lose. But you can add up your victory points and see what that means. The more victory points you end the game with, the better you've done. The fewer, the worse you've done. Okay. Optional rules. If the army ever reaches 0, and I'll tell you which ones we're not going to play with if we hit any, an army-sponsored coup occurs and the game ends immediately. If the economy reaches 0, there's economic turmoil and you lose the game. If an ace is drawn on a non-purge turn, the ace of spades kills Hindenburg. That was kind of baked into the regular rules, so I don't know. If an ace of clubs comes up, if a purge is not called on the next turn, the army index drops by 4. The ace of hearts, if the economy is not chosen this turn or any future turn, it's dropped by 2 instead of 1. So from then on, the economy is a problem. And then random events, roll a die at the start of each non-purge turn. A roll of 2 through 6 means no effect, and the turn continues as usual. On a roll of 1, you roll again on the random events table, which can cause some mainly bad things, I think. Economy could go either way. The army drops by 3 if you don't choose them. Himmler, intrigue, you have to choose the SS or things are worse. Rohm variable, even if Rohm is compliant, index drops by 1, and the army raises by 1 if odd. There's a -1 permanent modifier to any purge because he becomes more cautious. I think that can only happen once. No, may happen any number of times in the game. Hindenburg recovers, and he gets an extra point of health. And party policy split hurts your chances of purging next turn. Here we go. Here we go to the other ones. Variable victory conditions. You can fiddle around with the indices, with the victory conditions, with the purge level required. Yeah. Okay, some additional optional rules that came out in this version. Apparently it was first published in a magazine. Economic realities. If you go 3 turns in a row without having economy, it drops the index by 1. If the card in play is the 2 of diamonds or 2 of hearts, reshuffle the deck at the end of the current turn. Sounds good. Okay, this is the one that scares me. You can add more unpredictability when resolving a purge. When calculating your purge number during a purged event, total the purge factors as usual, but then you draw a card from the deck. Instead of any court card counting as 5, well, you normally draw a card. You roll a die, and you add this number rolled if the drawn court card was black, and you subtract the number rolled if the court card was red. That's going to make purges significantly more difficult. So I kind of think I want to stay away from that. And then there's the second revolution option. If you end the game with 13 or less victory points, you can see what happens. You reshuffle the deck, draw 1 card. If the number's higher than the number of victory points you ended the game with, you not only lose the game, but there's a second revolution, and Germany is more problematic. And a few other things there. Okay, so we're going to give this a shot. First turn, we can't purge, we draw a card. It's the 2 of spades. That causes something. That's one of our already. Oh, we gotta roll a die. Random event. On a 1, something happened. Oh shit. Okay, hold on. Which one? Army general's wary. So if an army action is not chosen, the army index drops by 3. Let me track some stuff on paper, because I'm gonna have to walk away from the game for dinner very shortly. I'm a little fatigued, which this actually is very suitable for that, but trying to clean my roof, having my usual problems. I had a worker for like the first 2 years I was here, guy who came, did a great job. Last year I decided, I don't really need someone to do the whole thing every year, and it looked pretty good, so I just kind of swept it. I've got a roof that's scary to get up. You can't get up on without hooks and stuff. But then this year we had a lot of crap fall, and I'm like, okay, got to do something about it. And I've been trying to call people. The guy I normally used has moved out of town, and the last guy, yeah, it's hard for me to get anybody to even come out, because like I don't want them to call me, so I don't leave a phone number, I leave email. And I got one guy to come, and I was like, oh, that's great. And he took a look at it, and he's like, I can't get anybody to work on this. I do it myself. Like 5 years ago I did it, but yeah. So I've sent out another set of emails, and I don't know how to get people to do things, so I'm fucking doing it myself. And I absolutely need somebody to do the moss, but unless I don't know, I could probably use squish some shampoo up there. I've got a huge window cleaning thing that I use. Anyway, onward to this. So I want to write down what the random event is this turn and keep track of everything, really. Back to my card, it's the 2 of spades. Now, the 2s, it's diamonds and hearts that are special. I looked that up. Keeping track of this here. I really want to choose the army choice. I hope things work out well for me, but I may have problems. So now, Hindenburg is ignored, but the Rohm card moves me to Munich. Oh, I could do a purge. Yeah, I don't think so. I could try to do the calculations, but I'm assuming it's crap. Okay, so 2 of spades is going to be a political issue. This is not good, but I want the army. Which means I will be taking an army action on... What does political mean? Political issue. I don't know what that means. effects table. I don't know what a political issue is. Shitty. I don't see the linkage there. Yeah, these don't match the indices. Crap. All right, I'm gonna have to look again. Okay, I'm gonna make guesses here. This is not actually in here that I can see. It's probably buried in the example here, but I can tell you what I can tell you. Political issue, okay, I don't know what that is, but hearts is economic issue. That's going to be the economy index, great. Okay. Clubs is army, that's going to be the army index, which is where we're going to go. Diamonds is intrigue, I believe that's going to be the SA. Remember, intrigue is linked to something, Himmler's intrigue, right? So I think that's going to be the SA index, and it doesn't really matter, they just have to align, so political is going to be the SA. Okay, so first things first, I did not choose an SA action on the political index. That's going to raise them. This is not good. But for the army, for spades, I get +3 to the army. Okay, well, now I go to the next random event for turn 2. If I keep rolling ones, this is going to be horrible. Great. Or if I throw the die way over where I can't reach it. It's going to land on the table, man. Okay. It's a 2. That's no random event. Great. Am I going to purge? Well, let me calculate since I'm allowed to. What would my purge factor be? Double the SS, that's 0. Half the army, that puts me to 5. The Rohm location puts me to 7. He's in the right place. The indexes aren't up there, so I'd have a 7 plus a card. That is not going to get me to 14, so I definitely do not want to purge. So I draw a card. I get the 2 of hearts. That's a reshuffle. Yay! Okay. Well, that was fun. We deal with the Hindenburg health. That's an even card. Hindenburg starts to get sicker. 2 of hearts is an economic issue. Well, okay, I gotta write down that I chose army here. Turn 2. We have an economic issue. I'm going to pick the economic event, the economic action for that. There's hearts. So, I want to do this because otherwise I get a penalty. Plus, I've got to do economic every 3 turns anyway. So this seems like a good idea. So nothing bad happens to me, except that I chose economic on an economic index. So I get bonuses. They don't move me anywhere. Is this making sense? Say spades and Rohm is still in play. The player could go. Spades is, let me just see what this says. Spades is a political issue. If I played that, I'd get a penalty. Yeah. So it only affects 1 in the case if I choose the right action. So that's kind of cool. Okay. So yeah, I am going to choose an econ issue this time. I don't think anything special happens. And the turn is over, but I got to reshuffle. Okay. Things haven't changed enough that we'd want to purge. I forgot to move Rohm. Rohm would be in Munich because we got another 2. Okay. Good enough. So, random event. I'm not sure I like the random events. Because I keep rolling them. Oh boy. A 6. Party policy split. That's going to be a purge penalty. Okay. That'll be -2 for purge, so we're not going to see that. We draw a card. It is the 7 of Hearts. Okay. So first we move Rohm. He moves to Bremen, which isn't bad, but we check our good buddy Hindenburg, who gets a lot sicker all at once. We may lose real quick. Hearts is an economic issue. I cannot choose the economic issue and look for what can I do best with Hearts. Hearts doesn't do me any good for the SA. Hearts helps the army. See, I'm worried about Hindenburg. That's the problem. I don't know if I want to do an economic. Let the economics drop a little bit. Yeah, I think I am going to choose an army action again. That raises it up by 2. I would really like to get the SS up, but I'd like to do that off a good card, and I have hurt my economy. We go to the next turn. Can't do a coup or a purge because we got that penalty on us. We don't get a random event. We get the 2 of spades. Oh, that had an effect if I recall? Nah, I don't think so. Okay. Yeah, we push down to here. Get that in. And Hindenburg. Hindenburg drew a black card. That's not good. It's an even card. He only goes down by 1. He's nearly dead. Another black card could kill him. So we're in trouble. Spades is a political issue. We want to do the SA. Spades on the SA is not terribly bad. It's not great, but I am going to do it. Lowering that. And let's consider a purge. Well, let's do the random event check. Because we're worried Hindenburg is going to just die. We got a random event. And it's the Army General's way. Well, that doesn't make me happy. Ruh-roh. Okay, do I want to do a purge? If I do a purge, I double the SS, we didn't get any. Halve the army, that gets me to 6. 2 more for that gets me to an 8. The SA indexes are not high, so we're in an 8. I would draw a card. The best I could get is 5 points. That will not succeed, so I do not want to purge. So I draw a card. And Hindenburg dies and the game's over. Okay, 6 of spades, that's going to kill Hindenburg. Does he die immediately? I don't know. The game is over immediately. No action this time. So, what happened? Yeah, these variable index limits, I didn't explain them. They could actually shoot you off the top of the list. I don't want to deal with that no matter what, but I feel like the little tracks are cool enough. So, what happens? Victory conditions. We add the army index. It's 12. Half the SS, nothing. Twice the economy. Well, that's pretty cool. That gets me to 22. but minus the SA, 13. Minus 5 if Rohm hasn't been eliminated, 8. We can't win. We got a spade, that puts me to 9. We lost the game. But we reshuffle the deck and draw a card. And if it's higher than the victory points we ended the game with, there's a revolution in addition. And that's pretty much a 10 or face card. Just cut the deck. And it's the ace of spades. Okay, so we lost the game, but, you know, at least there wasn't a revolution or whatever. Not a lot I can say. There weren't a whole lot of turns here. There wasn't much that I could do to prevent this loss. I didn't have enough time to get things up. You know, you want the SS for the purge. The economy was pretty nice. I took a hit on that, though. That cost me 2 points. That would have gotten me to a 10. Still couldn't have won with that, and I wouldn't have had as much army. So the fact that, you know, Hindenburg declined so quickly pretty much screwed me. I have the feeling that it probably quite often ends up in a failure just for that very reason, that, like, it seems like Hindenburg is going to die pretty quickly. You need a court card, right? In order to get that up. Otherwise, you really don't have a lot of turns. I did this. I had 4 turns, three draws, right? Three draws on Hindenburg's death, and or on his lifespan, and that went pretty damn fast. So, you know, I mean, it's clearly challenging in terms of, like, your chances of winning. Is it challenging in terms of an exercise? I don't know about that. Full of Rohm. It seems almost a waste to set up the tripod to talk. There's not a whole hell of a lot to say about this. I would say that if you're in the mood for a States of Siege type game, and, you know, you got maybe 15 minutes or something, this kind of scratches that itch, right? You know? It makes, to me, it feels kind of like the postcard games. It's a nice, cute little thing. You can play it with just a deck of cards and a die if you want to play with the optional rules. It's really fast, and it just, you know, it goes like that. I can't imagine it taking much more than 10 or 15 minutes. It's not exactly something that, you know, I think, I don't think of it as something that, you know, is worth going out and hunting, unless you have a real use for, like, let's say you're going to be on the airplane or whatever. you could clearly play this sitting in your seat in the plane several times over the course of any reasonable flight. So, you know, it's a cute little thing for that. You can try to explore and see what you get out of it, etc. But I don't feel like there's a whole hell of a lot going on here. It's really just a way to amuse yourself. Is it better than playing a hand of solitaire cards or something? I don't know. You know, if you want to, you can probably take a certain kick to it, fiddling around with it 4 or 5 times, and that's about it. That said, you know, how often do I play most of my games? Once now, you know, and this one is only going to get played this once unless I convince my wife to give it a shot on her own. Hey, you got 10 minutes? Want to try an exciting game? Yeah, but, you know, gives you an idea of what you're looking at. It can be picked up pretty cheap. I think it cost me like $5, plus probably like $3 in shipping or whatever. But, you know, I can't say I'm totally upset about it. I feel like I got a cute little thing, and you know, who knows? If I'm ever in the mood for that States of Siege type game and don't have a lot of time, this definitely seems to be right up that alley. You're fiddling with the charts. You're trying to get this optimal situation, and you know you don't have to muck around with counters moving around on the board or anything like that. That said, you know, it's like only a slice of that States of Siege experience. So I don't know. I don't know how many times, how much people will have it. I looked at the plays recorded on BGG after I recorded mine, or well, no, before I recorded mine, there were a total of 6. 5 by one player who might be the designer for all I know. I can't tell you too much about the balancing factors of it. It shot so fast that I'm afraid that you might end up losing most of the time. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, you know. I don't feel like there's a lot of story going on. It's all very abstract. But again, I also don't feel like I spent a lot on it, you know, in terms of money, but maybe more importantly, in terms of reading the rules and figuring out how to play and everything. And I don't know. It's not terrible, right? All right, up it goes. It was exactly the right size game for me because I get to eat my dinner now.